In the town of Briar Glen, nothing truly bad was supposed to happen. It was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked during the day and only locked them at night out of habit, not fear. Neighbors greeted each other by name, and strangers were noticed immediately, not with suspicion but with curiosity. That's why when 31-year-old Hannah Cole was found dead in her home, the town didn't just mourn, it changed. Hannah wasn't the type of person people worried about. She worked as a school secretary at Briar Glen Elementary, where she knew every student by name and every parent by voice. She was dependable, warm, and predictable in the way small-town life often is. Every morning she stopped at the same cafe for coffee. Every evening she walked her dog along Maple Street, and every night she locked her door. At least, that's what everyone believed. It was a Tuesday morning when her routine broke. Hannah didn't show up for work. At first, no one thought much of it. People got sick. Sometimes alarms didn't go off. But by midday, when her phone went straight to voicemail and she still hadn't arrived, concern began to spread. By early afternoon, the school principal asked a local officer to do a wellness check. When police arrived at Hannah's house, nothing seemed out of place. The curtains were drawn, the front porch was clean, and the door was closed, but it wasn't locked. Inside, the house was quiet, too quiet. There were no signs of a struggle in the living room, no broken furniture, no scattered belongings. Everything looked normal until they reached the bedroom. Hannah was lying on the floor beside her bed, still, unmoving, gone. At first glance, investigators were puzzled. There were no visible injuries, no blood, no signs of forced entry, no indication that anyone else had been there. It didn't look like a murder, but it didn't look natural either. The medical examiner later confirmed what police had begun to suspect. Hannah had been suffocated, carefully, deliberately. That was when the fear began to spread, because whoever had done this had been inside her house and had left without a trace. The investigation moved quickly at first. Police interviewed co-workers, friends, neighbors, anyone who might have seen or heard something unusual. But the answers were always the same. Hannah was kind, Hannah was routine. Hannah had no enemies, but as days turned into weeks, small details began to surface. Details that didn't quite fit the image everyone had of her. A neighbor mentioned seeing a man standing across the street late one night, not doing anything, just watching. Another recalled hearing footsteps on Hannah's porch after midnight, but assumed it was a delivery or a stray animal. At the time, none of it seemed important. Now it felt like everything. Then there was the message. Hannah's phone had been recovered from her nightstand. Most of it was routine. Texts from co-workers, reminders, casual conversations. But one message stood out. It had been sent 3 nights before her death. From an unknown number, it read, "You forgot to lock your door." Investigators traced the number. It led nowhere. A prepaid phone, unregistered, disposable. The message chilled everyone who read it, because it meant one thing: whoever sent it had been close enough to know. The case began to shift. This wasn't random. This was someone who had been watching. Police expanded their search. They reviewed security footage from nearby streets, checked traffic cameras, interviewed anyone who had been in the area. And slowly, a pattern began to emerge. A car, dark-colored, older model, seen parked near Hannah's house on multiple nights. Never for long, always just there. But the footage was too grainy to identify a license plate, too distant to see the driver. Another dead end. Then came the break that almost changed everything. A week after Hannah's death, a woman came forward. She lived 3 blocks away. She told police that she had noticed something unusual the night before the murder. Her back door had been slightly open, just enough to make her uneasy. At first, she thought she had forgotten to close it, but now she wasn't so sure. Police searched her home. They found nothing. No signs of theft, no evidence of forced entry. But something about it felt wrong. The theory became clear. Whoever had killed Hannah hadn't just targeted one house. They had been moving through the neighborhood, testing doors, watching, waiting, and then choosing. Fear spread quickly through Briar Glen. People stopped leaving doors unlocked. Lights stayed on through the night. Neighbors who once felt safe began checking locks twice, then 3 times. But the investigation began to slow. Leads dried up. Evidence ran thin. And eventually, the case did what many feared it would. It went cold. Months passed. Then years. Hannah Cole's case became something else. A story, a warning, a shadow over the town. Children who had been too young to understand at the time grew up hearing about it. Parents used it as a reminder. Lock your doors. Be careful. Pay attention. But no one ever forgot the message. You forgot to lock your door. It lingered because it suggested something far more disturbing than a random crime. It suggested intention, patience, planning. Someone had been watching Hannah. For how long? No one knew. And then, nearly 8 years later, something unexpected happened. In a neighboring town, a man was arrested for breaking into homes. Not to steal, not to harm, just to enter and leave. He would walk through houses at night, stand in doorways, watch people sleep, then disappear. When police searched his belongings, they found something unsettling. A collection of notes, addresses, descriptions, observations. And among them was one address from years earlier, Hannah Cole's house. The man denied any involvement in her death. There was no physical evidence tying him to the crime. No DNA, no witnesses. Nothing that could prove he had been there that night. But investigators couldn't ignore the connection. He had been in the area. He had a pattern, and he had written her address down. Still, it wasn't enough. Without proof, the case remained unsolved. The man was charged for the break-ins in the neighboring town. But for Hannah Cole, there were no answers, only questions. Did he do it? Or had someone else been watching too? In Briar Glen, people still talk about her, about the night everything changed, about the message, and about the idea that maybe the person responsible was closer than anyone realized. Because sometimes the most terrifying crimes aren't the ones committed in chaos. They're the ones carried out quietly, by someone who has been watching for far longer than anyone ever suspected. And sometimes they're never solved.